Hello, hello. Welcome back to Password. And I think that music looks a little bit loud. That's fine. Roswell grabbed his candy and shoved another handful into his mouth. We left the book in the study, heading back into the museum. So, time to study?
Something like that. I figured maybe do some sleuthing on my own. Maybe piece together who actually lived here.
Lives here, okay.
It's the least I can do for not paying attention to my parents beforehand, right?
Oh, then, can I help?
What happened to not wanting to study?
Well, sure, but this is less studying and more like a game, right?
Well, in that case, grab a book and let's start looking into things.
Are we just doing it at random, like we did the other day?
Well, we could, but I'd advise against it. Chances of you finding anything of worth randomly is, well...
I wiped my hand so it was clean enough to handle books and looked over the bookshelf I was next to. All these books look the same, Roswell.
Who knows? You might get lucky and pull the right book. Here, I'll even let you officially borrow some of my luck if you're that worried.
Well, I reach out to the books on the shelf, trying to decide which one to pull out first. Some of them had words on the spine, others were completely blank.
Just pick one, Dave.
Okay, how's this? I turned to him and pulled a random book off the shelf. It's sliding freely easily enough, but dragged something along with it and that landed on my foot.
Oh! What? You can't be serious.
I placed the book down on the table and picked up the metal that had landed on my foot. Guess this was tangled up against the cover or something.
Okay, that's enough borrowing my luck. I want it back.
Are we on the same team, though? This is just a win for us, right?
True, but I feel like there's maybe a little. That's a little maybe. Wait, that's maybe a little too convenient. Maybe best if we don't tell the others that we found it right away.
If you say so. Which one is this, anyway? It looks kind of like, handcuffs, maybe.
Handcuffs? Let me see.
I handed over the medal to Roswell. I handed the medal for Roswell to take, and his face scrunched up the moment he flipped it over to see what I was talking about. The next moment, he threw the medallion down hard, nearly missing his own foot.
I swear, today's a mess.
Did I do something?
Of course not.
Did the medal do something? Roswell knelt down and picked up the medal, shoving it into my face, lightly brushing against my nose.
Do you know what the sign is?
Handcuffs?
No.
Space handcuffs?
Dave, come on, be serious.
Only trying to lighten the mood. I don't know which one this is. With a sigh, Roswell shook his head.
Cancer, the crab.
Oh, so it wasn't handcuffs, but pincers.
I suppose so.
I glance at the chips in my hand and offer them to Roswell.
No, it's all right. Although...
Oh, no, what?
Dave, up for, some fun tonight?
What? What kind of fun?
I think it'll be good if we, got to unwind a bit tonight. Relive some of the old times. A good old, slumber party with just the two of us.
Didn't we do that the other night?
No, something for best friends only.
So, Orlando's coming?
No, Dave, just us. I have the snacks and everything already prepared.
Well, alright, obviously just us. But where did you get all the snacks from? You didn't bring them for you, did you? Roswell, don't tell me you didn't bring them for you.
Then I won't. But after dinner, let's just, I don't know. Would this be classified as a date?
don't know. Is it one?
I'll leave that up to you, but I figure something to take your mind off of things would do you some good. I know it's what I need, and if I can involve you as well, then all the better.
I nodded slowly as he reached out and put a hand on my arm, flashing me a smile.
So, how about we just relax in here until it's time for dinner, and then when that's all done, we can get this party underway.
I watched as Roswell pored over books for most of the afternoon. He looked so determined, if troubled by something. He was in the zone, though, and I knew better than to take him for it while he frantically searched for answers to questions he hadn't voiced. At some point, I moved from playing catch with the metal to pulling out a book from the shelf and settling in, yeah. While Roswell had opted to continue to pull books on stuff far too academic for my liking, I started working through easy-to-read stories. There was a pattern I soon discovered about flickering through some of the books. In all of them, not one of them seemed to have a rabbit as a good guy. In fact, most of them seemed to go out of their way to cast Rabbit as the villain. I looked to Roswell to see if he was in any state of mind to have an opinion on this, but he was still focused on his own reading material. Closing the book I had last grabbed, I leaned back against the bookcase and thought, were these originals, or edited of the originals to cater to someone's racist preference in reading material? It was something I tucked into the back of my mind, just in case it came up later. Oh, okay. Roswell and I filed into the kitchen, a notable spring in his step as we with him leading the way. It seemed like he was serious about taking charge of dinner tonight. Still riding high from before? Looking forward to this, huh? Slumber party?
Of course! Why wouldn't I be?
Roswell wandered around the kitchen, picking up bits and pieces from the pantry before turning back to me.
You know, I think today turned out pretty well, don't you?
I wasn't expecting you to apologize to Ty so quickly, and then all the coincidences in the study. That seems to be the wrong thing to say, as his expression soured quickly. That says quickly, right?
Yeah.
That is to say, I think it was good that you did, though. Thank you for that.
Well, you're welcome. After thinking about it a bunch, I asked myself what you'd do.
Me? If it were me, I'd try avoiding a fight if I could.
Sure, but that's not what I meant. I just asked myself, what would you do? And the only thing I could imagine is you chiming in with, do the right thing, Roswell.
I mean, yeah, I'd probably say that.
See? So I thought about it, and I figured that the right thing to do would be to apologize. I've taken the first step, but I want to see something from him.
But...
No buts. I'm willing to give him a chance, but you can't fight this battle for me. But enough of that. We have dinner to make, and a party to get to.
You sure, Roswell? Like, we can reschedule it, if that's better.
Of course I'm sure. You mean well, and it's awesome that you jump in to defend those you care about, but you can't always be throwing yourself in danger like that. It'll be the death of you if you're not careful. Oh, forgive the turn of phrase.
No, I mean, okay, fine, but that's not what I meant.
What did you mean?
I meant about making dinner. We have Benson around, so...
True, but I can pull my weight too. Besides, I cooked with Dean once. I can do it by myself just fine.
But how much of that did Dean do?
You say he may have done most of the work, but I did boil the pasta.
Right. Once more, Roswell started wandering around the kitchen, collecting things before setting them on the counter.
I had an idea for dinner anyway. It should be easy enough to make.
Okay, but what is it? I can help, but I came to help, but what should I do?
Can you steam rice?
Maybe.
Maybe? I assumed you could do that.
And you don't?
I sorta know. I think I could figure it out.
Okay, so skipping the rice, what are we having with it?
Mushroom curry.
You can curry mushrooms?
Is curry even a verb?
That doesn't matter. Just how do we make the thing?
Well, I was thinking we could just make it like a spicy stew, right? That's basically the same thing.
Not too spicy, I hope.
Of course not, but that'll be up to you.
Why me?
Look, if it wasn't clear right now, my nose isn't as good as I gave it credit for. Yours is much better.
Well, I guess it's pretty good, but what makes you think I'd be good with spices?
Is that not how it works? Well, shoot, I'm sorry. There goes my assuming things I shouldn't.
Well, I'm happy to give it a try. What's the worst that could happen?
Well, the worst case scenario would be we set the place on fire, right? Or at the very least, burn dinner.
Well, let's aim for better than that.
Agreed.
Roswell went about chopping up mushrooms, and I started peeling potatoes. If we're making a curry or like a stew, we'd need potatoes. But by the time I had done, Roswell was already throwing things into a large pot. Along with other bits that he'd pulled from the pantry.
Right, Dave. Time for you to add your special touch on this.
Oh, no, I don't have any special touches.
I just...
He rubbed his temples before going back to stirring the pot further.
What else should we add to this?
Well, I added potatoes. What did you add?
I cut up some mushrooms. I brought in from the forest. Nothing overly fancy. But there are some in the pantry, too.
Are you sure they're safe?
Positive!
What about onions? No. No. No, Dave, no. No onions.
Could do onion.
No. Salt, pepper, nutmeg?
Does nutmeg go in a stew?
I pulled a face and shrugged, only clutching at straws. I didn't really know. And it seemed as though Roswell didn't know either.
Well, let's wing it. How bad could it be? How bad could it be? I'll do the onion, you do the rice.
Oh, maybe we could add stuff to the rice to make it taste too, like garlic?
Butter.
Both.
Both is good.
After a little bit of trial and error, the two of us managed to get dinner sorted and brought it out so we could all eat. Interesting. What about the rice? Oh, we added butter and garlic to it before steaming it.
Yeah, I thought it'd be a little more rounded out than just normal plain rice.
What's wrong with normal steamed rice? This stew stuff was heavy enough as it was.
I was trying to be fancy, that's all. There's not really enough for another whole meal anyway, so I guess it worked out.
Okay. I'll help you out too, Roswell. No point in going on ahead.
Are you sure?
Absolutely. Between the three of us, it shouldn't take too long, just as Sal said.
Can't argue with that. All right, let's get this done and settle it for the night.
We brought everything into the kitchen, ready to start cleaning. Okay, time for the dishes.
Yeah, I'll wash the plates and then Sal can do the glass later. But first, you're on rinsing duty, Dave.
You should wash the glass first.
What?
You wash the glass first.
It doesn't matter that much, does it?
I start rinsing the plates as Sal looked over Roswell, sizing him up.
It matters. If you do the glass first, then the water is clean. You should do the plates first. If you do the plates first, all of the grime gets on the glass and makes it cloudy.
It can't really be that noticeable, is it?
Fine. Do the plates first.
No, wait, I'll listen.
Sal threw his arms up in a shrug and started bringing more things over to me to rinse. With a Roswell close behind.
Sal, teach me how to clean dishes properly.
After I rinsed the dishes, I stood back with Roswell while Sal taught Roswell to do dishes. I just assumed that Roswell would know and Sal wouldn't, but maybe this was just another thing that Roswell was eager to know. It was him to a fault. Always learning, always seeking out new bits of knowledge. Still, Sal seemed to be a good teacher, but I get the impression that maybe he was treating Roswell a little too much like a younger sibling with how he was phrasing his instructions. Not that Roswell seemed to mind, at least. At some point, I wandered off, figuring that I should get a shower in before whatever Roswell was planning. Maybe it was just the fact that the museum was a lot dustier than I gave it credit for. But once I stepped into the shower, I felt the dirt and grime wash away the longer I stood there. Or maybe it was just the idea that Roswell put into my head about it being a potential date, and I found myself scrubbing myself a little harder than I normally would, just to be sure. After all, if you're going on a date, you may as well look your best. But was that a bit too presumptuous? Was it just a slip of the tongue? Even at the thought of tongues made me bring my hand over my mouth, remembering the fact that Roswell and I had kissed. And if this was just another escalation from that, would he be that bold? If we were just sleeping, I figured I'd throw on a pair of sleeping shorts and grab a toothbrush. I assumed that'd be some level of sharing a bed tonight as best be prepared. I wandered over to Roswell's room and found him sitting on the bed checking his phone for something before waving me over.
Dave, I was wondering when you'd end up. Oh, where you'd end up.
Just, shower and junk.
Well, speaking of, I was about to take one myself.
He patted some pajamas folded neatly next to him before bundling them up under his arm.
So, make yourself comfortable. I shouldn't be too long. And if you find yourself getting a bit cold, feel free to borrow a shirt, Dave. Or use one of the spare blankets. Either works.
Like, okay. Giggling to himself, he wandered into the bathroom to leave me with my thoughts. Closing the door behind him and shuffling over to the bed, I looked around Roswell's room. It seemed as though he had gone through the effort to clean his room before I arrived, but that hardly mattered. I took a load off by sitting on the bed, grabbing one of the spare blankets and draping it loosely over my head, when a brief chill came over me. And before too long, Roswell emerged from the bathroom and dressed ready for bed.
Sorry to keep you waiting. Ready to get this party underway?
I gave him a look, gesturing to his room. Looks like someone already had a party, and we weren't invited.
Well, I can sort of change that.
By cleaning? 'Cause your room is a pigsty.
Phrasing, Dave.
I mean it, though. I don't know anyone else this messy.
Hey, busy room, busy mind. Or whatever the saying goes. Still, let me just get the last thing to make this complete and we can get started.
I watched from the bed as Roswell started, turning over his clothes strewn over the floor, bundling up into his arms bag, okay, of snacks and candy as if they were all tucked away for safekeeping. Roswell?
Yes?
Did you deliberately hide that in your clothes or just...
Oh no, they just ended up there. But they're all in new packets, so no need to worry about it. Now.
I mean, that's kind of cute. Why are you shirtless, though? I think that's a little weird. Maybe it's just me. Oh my god, having gummy worms just, like, on the bed? Oh no, that, I don't know about that one, friend. You're eating like Pringles and chips and well, like legally distinct Pringles and chips and like you're gonna get crumbs all over your bed and a lollipop. Oh, God, Roswell. Okay. Roswell dropped everything onto the bed and got comfortable opposite me, sitting among a nest of snacks.
This is a party.
So we're just gonna eat junk food?
Yeah, and?
I don't know. He looked around his snacks and unwrapped a lollipop, putting it into his mouth before passing one of the cylindrical tube of chips.
You like these, right?
I smirked, rubbing my thumb across the label. Thanks.
What's eating at you, Dave?
I don't know how to do it. Flipping between being fine with things 1 minute and worried about them the next.
Maybe that's just one of your superpowers.
What I wouldn't give to have a superpower of my own, you know. It'd make things easier, that's for sure.
Are you really sure about that? I think you're potentially special without needing the, say, laser beam eyes.
I chuckled, smirking a little. Yeah, maybe.
I mean it. You're plenty special. That's one of the reasons I love you, Dave.
I didn't register it immediately after he said it, but I did a double take after realizing what he said. Did you just...
What?
You love me?
Well, yeah, obviously.
Isn't that... is that why we kissed?
It doesn't have to be.
I furrowed my brow, confused as what Roswell was getting at. Thankfully, he seemed to pick up on this and pulled the lollipop from his mouth to explain.
There is a lot of different kinds of love. Parental love, unrequited love, familial love.
He grimaces, looking off to the side while he continued to think, a gesture I mimicked, opting to look into the tube of chips in my hand.
Fraternal love, romantic, platonic love.
Roswell.
But then there's also unconditional love, obsessive love, love for sweets.
Roswell!
What?
What's the point you're trying to make?
The point I'm trying to make is, well, I know I love you. I just don't know where that falls just yet. But do I want to find out? Absolutely. What that makes us in the meantime, I don't really know.
What about the others? Orlando seems pretty keen on setting me up with Dean. Excuse me.
I think I'm fine with that. End of the day, it's your call, and if by the time I figure it out, and it's something more than romantic love, well, that's just a shame for me.
But I don't want to, upset you.
And I'm not selfish to make you put your life on hold for me to figure it out. No one has time for that. Make sense?
Yeah, I guess so. If I'm being honest, the whole Volt thing, it's really messing with my priorities.
No kidding, but still. You really have to loosen up, Dave.
Roswell shook his head gently.
As much as worrying about how I died is a thing, I feel like you need to maybe do some digging yourself. Sorry, was that stepping over the line?
With a sigh, I shook my head. No, you're probably right. It's been long enough.
I just miss the happy you, is all.
I know. I'm sorry. Well, you know enough about it, right?
Right. But you are working on it, right?
Slowly.
Dave?
I could be doing better. You're right.
What am I going to do with you?
He was important to me, Roswell. I can't just... What if I forget about him? What if I don't live up to his expectations? I deflated, hugging the blanket tighter around me. Don't worry, you're not the only one that's told me that they miss the old me. We sat in awkward silence for a while before I popped the lid on the tube I'd been given and tipped the contents unceremoniously into my mouth, half choking from how fast my mouth filled up. I munched and chopped, keeping my mouth full. There was something to be said about eating your troubles away. But maybe I just needed to indulge just this once and take a page out of Roswell's book. No sooner had I swallowed, I reached for a bag of candy, and Roswell joined in too, both of us ravenously devouring a large part of what he'd provided. At some point, the sugar rush turned into a sugar crash, and we passed out, half cuddled up together on the bed. I felt as though I'd eaten too much, and I didn't brush my teeth, but I felt a little happy. Happier enough that I considered it a win. Ah, yes, day 10. This whole thing. It's sad. With the added with the added new sound of Roswell next to me, sprawled on his back and snoring happily to himself. I could have sworn we'd ended up cuddling when he fell asleep, but he looked comfortable even with his shirt halfway up his belly. I had to give him some credit. He was trying, if not doing a great job. Not that I was much better. This whole dating thing was new to me. Not only that, if we were actually dating was something I wasn't clear on. Maybe I just liked being told up front this was how things are. Roswell, you awake? I look over to him to see if he's stirred, and shy of grunting and mumbling something incoherent back at me, his snoring resumed without missing a beat otherwise. My mind went back to the dream I just woke from, and with a sigh, I got out of bed. Okay. Oh, yeah, Oh, that's what he's so small. Like, he's so small. I never really... It's so hard to, like, realize that, I think. Just how small Roswell is. And this pose really accentuates his gut, I think. This is probably the most expressive portrait of Roswell, though. But I really love this face from Dave. That's real good. I mean, obviously the one with Tyson is my favorite version of this because I'm a man of culture. I don't notice he was there at first, almost making me jump from his sudden appearance.
Are you okay?
Oh, yeah, I think so.
Are you sure?
Looking to Roswell, he seemed genuinely concerned, and I let out a sigh. I just needed to decide something, that's all.
Decide what? Especially this early.
Do you think we're in danger? Really?
From what?
Well, you know, I saw you dead. You wanted to know how. Then Benson...
Oh, right. It took me by surprise, sure, but I told you I think about death a lot. Maybe more than I should, but someone's got to, right?
I groaned, hanging my head with a sigh. Why does it feel like I'm the one that has to also think about it?
No one's forcing you. Not really.
What if I told you I was worried if I didn't do anything? Someone might end up dead.
Everyone dies, Dave. Just let what happens happen. Sure, it might not be when you want, and it could come suddenly, but worrying about it needlessly is only going to do more harm than good. Focus on what you can change and let that... Wait. You can change, and let the rest just happen, I guess.
I look at him, and he flashes me a smile. So what? Just let everyone die?
Oh no, don't do that. What I meant more was, maybe don't tackle the problem as so much as keeping people alive. That's what doctors are for. Instead, maybe look at it as keeping people safe. Be the great detective, and I'll be your assistant if you like.
Roswell. He beamed at me, covering his eyes as the sun started to rise over the trees.
Wow, pretty. Look, Dave, the sun's coming up.
We watched as the sun rose, washing the landscape over with his warm light. Roswell?
Yeah?
Everything's going to be okay.
You think so?
I'm going to try my best to make sure of it anyway.
And I'll help. Really, say the word and I'll come running. Just, please don't make me run very far.
We both broke out in laughter as we stood there, watching the world for a bit before Roswell shook suddenly.
I should get back inside before I catch another cold. See you at breakfast?
Sure, and thanks for last night, Roswell. With a wave, he headed back inside. It was reassuring to know that Roswell was willing to give me a hand here. I wasn't a detective, and I could only dream of piecing things together. Roswell, though, he was clever. Between the two of us, I felt like we'd have a better chance of, laying the rest of my worries by finding the cause of it. There was no avoiding it. If Roswell was already this perky in the morning, I had some catching up to do. Who knew if he'd decide to go make a start on breakfast or do anything else. But even thinking about it reminds me that I needed coffee to start. I'm in my system before attempting any sort of investigation. No, okay. I think I'll I don't know. I think I'll end the part here. So I'll see you around, everyone.